Well, thanks for joining us for an exhilarating off-road adventure. We are going to tackle the Montana Mountain Loop Trail today with my Segway Villain and two Polaris RZRs. All three machines are 1,000 cc's, so roughly the same amount of power. This is going to be a thrilling ride where we're going to test the Villain and me as we travel through very rugged terrain for this desert adventure. It's going to feature breathtaking desert views and some very challenging desert climbs. Our journey begins at a chilly 40 degrees in the staging area, but we're going to climb over 5,000 feet, making it extremely cool and a scenic ride. I installed a super ATV flip windshield on the Villain months ago, and I love this thing. On a cold day like today, it never got open once. I dressed in layers, so I was really comfortable throughout the day between the heat from the engine or taking layers on and off. You can see there's plenty of parking here. Everyone has obligations this evening and kind of a late start, which is fairly normal if I have anything to say about it. I'm not a morning person. So we only have 4.5 hours to do roughly a 42 mile ride, and it's going to be challenging in sections. We better get a move on. When we're on sections of road like this, it's 2-lane, we can go pretty fast, so that'll help save some time. But wait until we get to the trails. We will not be speeding along like out here on these super flat, easy roads. I quickly get bored on straight, flat, easy roads and look for something with a little more challenge. So when I was planning out this route using onX Off-Road, I kept looking for little side trails that perhaps paralleled a flat road. I found some. Larry wasn't able to join us today, so that means we're relying on my onX Off-Road GPS skills alone. And I had to find this trail that we've been looking at, 252. That was not easy. There were a few U-turns just to get here. I'm sure before we get back to the trailers, I'll manage to get us on a trail or two that I didn't really map out, but it will get us there. It's lots of fun, and that's what counts. Not too long after our close encounter with the cows, we came to this intersection that had many possible choices, and I did pick the right one. 518, here we go. Oh, but you know what? We've been on the road a ways. Let's take a short break. Who am I kidding? We don't take short breaks. We stayed here way too long. We do like to talk. Remember when I mentioned earlier that we have a limited time to get this done because of obligations in the evening? Well, I'm glad you remember, because none of us did. So, to make up for time, of course, we go faster. I go faster anyway, whenever I get a chance. But it has to be done when it's safe. So, look for the dust. Not much out here today because we did have the rain the day before. Not much rain, but it helped. Look for lights, flags, movement, anything. Make sure you're up high and you can see the trail down below. All kinds of ways to see where it's safe. If you can't make sure it's safe, don't do it. So we're still on 518, but you'll notice a drastic change in the terrain. And it's crazy just how you're buzzing along on what is almost a road, nice and smooth even, and then maybe more like two tire tracks full of rocks. Who knows what's around the next corner? This is definitely a sport where you better be paying attention at all times, or you're not going to like the results at all. Going through this section, I was constantly checking the GPS to make sure I was on the trail. Hard to believe, but we were. If you know anything about this area and would like to share it, please put it in the comments section. The only thing I know is I found a little bit of text in onX Off-Road that said this is the Bat Cave area and there's hiking over there. You can go into the cave and there's a lot of guano. That's bat poop. But they said it's kind of a health risk. But we didn't have time to stop. We already messed around too much. We're on a tight schedule. Maybe next time. So we're turning left on 982. Another new trail. I wonder what it's going to be like. We'll soon find out. I love it. Every trail is a little bit different than the previous trail. Or go a little further on this trail, it'll change too. Never dull. I've been impressed with this area and trail markers. It has them quite frequently. Just when you think you might be going the wrong way, there's a marker. Well, it didn't take long before we got to our next turn to 650, which is the main road that's going to take us to the switchbacks, along with a couple of other routes that are going to join. So there's all kinds of numbers going up this mountain. So this part of the ride really is more of the main road, which is why Onyx talks about pickup trucks and things like that driving along here. Plus, there's an active ranch up here. So last winter we came through here on my 5th ride ever, which this was very exciting. Most of this section was underwater. We've had such a long stretch of drought, there's no water to be seen anywhere. I had hoped we would make it somewhere near the summit before we stopped for lunch, but here we are just really starting the climb in the easier section, and we're gonna have to take a break. The crowd's all here. It's time for lunch. And check out the scenery. We didn't quite make it to the top yet, but we are getting close. The closer we get to the switchbacks, the more sketchy or the more fun the road is going to become. It's going to get pretty exciting here soon. Every road or trail that we've been on today is two-way traffic. For the most part, we've seen almost no one, which is great. You begin to feel like the road is all yours. Out here, this is definitely two-way traffic. With traffic, you cannot expect it to be your road. Bummer. And it's going to get more and more sketchy the further up the hill we go. Fun is waiting on us around the next corner. I feel pretty confident at this point. Everyone has really enjoyed the ride. It's been just the right amount of difficulty, the right amount of roughness, the occasional speed. Everything has been pretty much perfect. I wonder how the rest of the ride's going to go. This is the easy part of the switchbacks, and we've got a long ways with lots of switchbacks. Is this going to be too much fun? Stay tuned. So the good news is the grade is probably in that 12 to 14% range, so it's not super steep for the most part, but some of these turns are going to be crazy sharp. In fact, I think you're going to find me having to back up and try again to get around some of them. Anyway, let's watch and see what happens. This is still the easy part of the switchbacks. The road's pretty smooth. I mean, you can see it's a little rough here and there with some drainage ruts, whatever. But the scenery is just getting better and better, which means you got to pay attention. But I'm distracted, which you can't be. Oh well, we'll just keep working at it. Well, you can see the road is falling off. That hole's a couple feet deep, so it certainly made me stop and think about my approach. But it was easy enough to get through. And then there was a short breather before the next switchback and obstacles. It is fun, but how long before it wears us out? Wait and see. This mountain is out to get me. Look at that, come around the corner, fantastic view, but there's a ledge. I better pay attention again. This is getting tough. We came from down there. This is really a fun climb. So we encountered a full-size Toyota pickup truck, 4-wheel drive, coming down the mountain. Turns out he's already been up, found a spot that he got uncomfortable. They decided to turn around. So a man, a woman, and his dog who had enough sense to know when they had enough. We chatted for a while, and then we all continued on in our various directions. These switchbacks started out, they were just a ton of fun, and the scenery is gorgeous, but I tell you, it seems like they're never going to end. Thanks to the rough terrain, the sharp turns, the vertical drop-offs to your death, we are not going very fast. And the jarring is starting to wear people out. This trail required all of my attention, so I didn't think I should be playing with the camera. I stopped and asked Roger if he would mind doing it since he was a passenger. Gene was driving. He was reluctant but said sure, he'd give it a shot. Well, now we know why we really miss Robin when she is operating the camera. But thanks for trying, Roger. Luckily, before everyone got too exhausted and said, let's turn around. Nah, they wouldn't have said that, would they? Anyway, the road started to straighten out. It wasn't quite as nasty. Actually, it turned out to be a very short reprieve. Appreciated, but short. For a guy with no recording experience, Roger did okay on a pretty roughy road. But of course, we miss Rob. You can see the road no longer looks as sketchy, but you can also tell that Roger is still getting beaten up on the rough road. But he's still shooting. Way to go, Roger. When I tell you the road is rough, you don't have to take my word for it. This is one last clip from Roger bouncing around. It's rough. Snow in the shade of the trail up on the mountain in several locations. So this is where we first found it, but as we got further up, we found a wee bit more. Now, I always warn you about going around corners and it's two-way traffic. Well, here comes a guy going down the hill. Now, I did stop and chat with him for a moment, and he wanted to know what the trail was like ahead. I assured him he would not be bored. He was in for an adventure. We continued on, and of course, the road was still pretty bouncy, rather rough, but good enough that we could pick up some speed and make up some time. Remember, we are supposed to be back to the parking lot. We're not even at the halfway point yet, and we are way past our due time. Of course, safety first. The road does dictate the speed. There's still some substantial drop-offs around here as the road gets rougher, goes around corners, whatever. Change speed accordingly. Here's a prime example of paying attention to the road. Suddenly, it did a little drop. I had to slow way down. The higher up the mountain we go, the more picturesque. And look at the snow. It's in the shadows. It's the only reason the snow's still here, because it's not that cold out. But I do still have the windshield down. I don't want to freeze. Plus, I have layers. I can change as necessary. Right now, I'm just really enjoying this part of the ride. If you're wondering if it was slippery or super muddy, none of those things. Traction felt great, the Villain handled perfectly, just buzzed through here like any other section of the road while I was enjoying the scenery. Many times as we've climbed this mountain and gone around a corner, I just knew we were at the top, and we never were. Well, finally, we are on the ridge at the top of the mountain. When we're in the shadows, of course, there's still a little bit of snow, but once we break out onto the ridge, the wind's blowing pretty good, and the stench from a recent fire, I'm not sure how long ago that was, but the smell is still there. Now I'm looking forward to getting off the ridge. It's time to head on back. While the view up here is exceptional, between the smell and the cold wind and running out of time, I decided to just keep moving. But I am holding the camera on a stick and panning around, and look, they're still here. We're doing good. With the switchbacks behind us on the other side of the mountain, this side the road's looking really good. We know there's more traffic because when we ate lunch so long ago, there was a group of about 10 machines that went past us, and we caught up to them a little while ago when we took a short break. So we know they're up there somewhere in front of us. Well, I've recovered a bit from the switchbacks because here I have choices, and I'm going to pick the more fun way just because I can. And then it's back to picking up speed. Remember, we're not late yet, but we don't want to be. We got to get down on time for this evening's activities. We're just starting down the mountain, so there's still a little bit of snow up here on the top in the shadows. Of course, there's those fantastic views again. More distractions with ledges. It is a challenge to stay on this road. Well, I've been wondering when we were going to catch up with that crowd of, I think, 10 vehicles. coming around this corner, they're all parked in the middle of the trail. Now I parked, got out, walked down, chatted with a couple of people, and found out around the corner. Didn't bring the cameras, so I can't show you what happened. There was a 50-inch Can-Am trail machine, like our friend Gary, the Canadian, and he had gone down into a rut and tipped over on his side. Well, by the time I got there, they'd already tipped him where he was upright, started the motor, and it was burning off the oil. So they were just about ready to take off. I asked a couple of people if it'd be okay if we could pass them since we were in kind of a rush. And those I spoke to said, sure, no problem. However, I didn't realize I did not make it to whoever was leading this group, which is going to cause me some issues later. I caught up to a couple of the people, which I believe are some of the ones I spoke to back on the trail, and they had pulled over so that we could go around. But that's only a couple people out of 10. I slowed down and thanked them for allowing us to pass, and then it was time to go. From here, the road is looking pretty smooth and fast, so I'm feeling optimistic that we're going to be able to fly, but I'm still concerned about all those vehicles in front. How fast or slow are they going? We'll find out soon, I'm sure. I keep wanting to stop and look at the scenery, but we're kind of in a hurry to get back to the parking lot. Not really safe to be checking out the scenery when you're driving with speed or along a cliff like this. So I think I'm just going to have to let the video take care of it, and I get to watch the scenery just like you do, right here on YouTube. It turned out this road is not quite as high speed as I had imagined, but compared to the switchbacks, it's a super highway. It's been a beautiful day with fantastic weather, and just look out there. I'm lucky to be here. It's been a lot of fun driving down this mountain. Nobody in front of me, go at whatever speed I feel comfortable, great visibility, safe to go just any speed at all. But the whole time I've been wondering, where are those guys in front of me? Well, right there, we found them. I don't think they even knew I was behind them. I know I've been in that situation before where I'm just having fun looking at the road, the scenery, everything in front of me, no idea what's going on behind me. So they were taking up the entire road. This went on for quite a ways. I flashed lights, I blew horn, I used turn signal, and finally I did manage to get around safely. But shortly after I passed them and started really making time, I realized I had two people behind me that were part of my group, Roger and Jean in their RZR, and Brian and Joanne in theirs. And obviously they did not have the success at getting around that I did, so eventually I just had to pull over and wait on them to catch up. So I won't do that again. Well, that's it for this recording. Use the comment section below if you want to share your experience at this location, or maybe recommend an area that you really enjoy. Please keep it clean. Want this to be a family-oriented channel, so review what you type before you submit it. Thanks. I apologize if you happen to hear something during the ride's recording that may not sound family-oriented. I will try very hard not to let certain words slip out during an exciting moment. We'll see how that works. If you found this video helpful or just enjoyed it, please hit the like button below. Share the link with your friends. Be sure to subscribe so you can easily keep up with my latest videos, which will continue to cover things like Segway Villain owners' area of interest, reviews of accessories, where to ride, tips about the Villain, how-to videos, and lots more. Yep, there's going to be more. Thanks for watching.